Chosen one, are you sleeping through the signs? Are you ignoring the tremors in your spirit? Are you so numb to the noise of this world that you can't feel heaven's alarm bells ringing over your life right now? Chosen one, don't move, don't blink. Just breathe, because this moment has been scheduled in heaven long before you were even born. Listen to me carefully. That restlessness you've been feeling, that strange pull to withdraw from people, that unexplained urgency in your chest at 3 a.m. when the world is silent but your spirit is screaming. You're not losing your mind. You're receiving prophetic intel. Before your first breath, before your name was whispered in the womb, this date, this exact day, was etched into eternity with divine ink. God saw this moment when He formed the mountains. He knew you'd be watching this when He hung the stars. What's coming isn't ordinary. It's not predictable. It's prophetic. This isn't just another day scrolling through messages. It's a spiritual fault line, a divine earthquake ready to rupture every chain that's held you back for decades. Here's what most people don't understand. God has stamped this season with prophetic weight, an alignment of unseen forces that will disrupt the enemy's plans and ignite supernatural movement in your life. The very air around you is pregnant with possibility. Atmospheres are shifting. Angels are gathering. The atmosphere around you is about to respond to the presence inside of you. Can you feel it? That electric charge in your bones. That's not anxiety, beloved. That's anticipation from the throne room. You won't believe what's about to break open. But heaven already believes it for you. You don't have to figure it out. You don't have to force it. Just stay in position. Clear your schedule. Clean your space. Prepare your heart. Because when this moment hits, everything around you will feel it. Your family will sense the shift. Your neighborhood will feel the atmospheric change. You're about to become a walking earthquake. Before we go deeper, I want to thank every single one of you who has supported this message through Super Thanks. Your generosity means more than you know. You're not just giving. You're helping spread light to others who feel alone in their calling. Whether you give or not, I'm deeply grateful for your presence here. Your support, your time, your attention, it all matters. And if this message resonates with your soul, go ahead and let your heart lead. If your spirit is stirred, if your heart is burning with confirmation like this message, subscribe and comment your city and time zone. Let us mark the map with where God is getting ready to move. This isn't hype, this is holy. And if you take it lightly, you may miss what took heaven decades to prepare. This is the moment. Don't miss it. The earthquake is coming. The question is, will you be hidden or will you be hit? Why can't you sleep anymore? Why does every news headline feel like a countdown? Why does your soul feel like it's holding its breath, waiting for something massive to drop? Listen to me, beloved. That knot in your stomach at 2 a.m. isn't indigestion from dinner. That sudden urge to call your children and tell them you love them isn't random sentimentality. That overwhelming need to get your house in order, to make peace with old grudges, to suddenly care about things you've ignored for years, that's not paranoia. That's prophecy moving through your bloodstream. You've lived long enough to know the difference between worry and warning. You've weathered enough storms to recognize when the atmospheric pressure drops before the thunder rolls. And right now, your spirit is picking up frequencies that your mind can't decode, but your soul understands perfectly. Here's what's happening to you. God is activating the prophetic antenna He installed in every chosen one before they took their first breath. You're not losing your mind. You're tuning into heaven's emergency broadcast system, and only those aligned with the Most High can receive this signal. For weeks now, maybe months, you've been feeling something stirring. A restlessness that coffee can't cure. A tension that vacation can't release. You wake up feeling like you're supposed to be somewhere, doing something, preparing for something, but you can't put your finger on what. Your family thinks you're overthinking. Your friends say you're being dramatic. But deep in your chest, there's a voice whispering, "Get ready. Something's shifting. Something's coming." That voice isn't anxiety talking. That's the Spirit of the living God giving you advance notice. You see, throughout Scripture, God has never allowed disasters to catch His people off guard. He's always sent warnings to the spiritually sensitive before He moves His hand. Look at the pattern with me. Before the flood destroyed the earth, Noah felt something in his spirit that made him build an ark when there wasn't a cloud in the sky. The Bible says Noah was moved with godly fear about things not yet seen. That wasn't paranoia, that was prophetic sensitivity. While everyone else was eating, drinking, and partying, Noah was preparing for something that seemed impossible. Before fire and brimstone rained down on Sodom and Gomorrah, Lot felt an urgency he couldn't explain. The angels had to grab his hand and literally drag him out because he was moving too slowly. But that supernatural urgency saved his life. While everyone else slept peacefully in their beds, Lot's spirit was screaming, "Get out now." Before 7 years of famine devastated Egypt, Joseph had dreams that kept him awake at night. Dreams so vivid, so urgent, that he couldn't shake them. Pharaoh's wise men called it nonsense, but Joseph knew he was seeing into the future. And because he listened to that prophetic stirring, an entire nation was saved from starvation. Every single time God is about to shake something, he warns the watchman first. And you, dear one, you're feeling those same tremors right now, that restlessness in your bones. That's your spiritual seismograph detecting movement in the heavenly realm. That sudden urge to withdraw from crowds, to spend more time in prayer, to get serious about your relationship with God. That's not isolation, that's preparation. You've been wondering why you suddenly can't tolerate the same television shows you used to watch, why gossip feels like poison in your ears, why you're losing interest in small talk and surface-level friendships. It's because your spiritual frequency is changing. You're being tuned to a higher vibration, a deeper dimension. God is preparing you for something that requires spiritual clarity, not worldly distraction. Think about this. Have you noticed how certain people have suddenly disappeared from your life? How some friendships have grown cold without explanation? How invitations have stopped coming? You thought it was rejection, but it was actually divine redirection. God is clearing your circle because what's coming next requires focus, not social drama. Have you wondered why you're suddenly craving solitude when you used to need constant company? Why you prefer your own space to crowded rooms? Why you'd rather read your Bible than scroll through social media? That's not antisocial behavior, that's spiritual maturation. You're being prepared for a dimension where not everyone can go. The tremors you're feeling aren't in your head. They're in the spiritual realm. Just like animals sense earthquakes before the ground starts shaking, spiritually sensitive people sense prophetic shifts before they manifest in the natural realm. Your spirit is calibrated to pick up heavenly frequencies that others miss. And right now, those frequencies are sending you a clear message. Prepare, position, get ready. This isn't the first time you've felt this kind of spiritual urgency, is it? Remember other seasons in your life when something deep inside told you to move, to change, to prepare, and you listened. Remember how that inner knowing saved you from situations that could have destroyed you. This is that same voice, but amplified. The difference this time is the intensity. The urgency feels deeper, more widespread. It's not just affecting you, it's affecting chosen ones all across the country, all around the world. We're all feeling the same spiritual restlessness, the same prophetic stirring. And that's because what's coming isn't just personal, it's global. You've lived through enough decades to recognize the signs. You've seen how quickly stable things can crumble, how overnight everything people trusted can disappear, how in one moment the world can change forever. But this time feels different, doesn't it? This time feels bigger. Your spirit knows what your mind is still trying to process. We're standing on the edge of the most significant spiritual shift in human history. The systems that have governed this world for decades are about to be shaken to their core, and God is giving His people advance warning so we can position ourselves correctly. This isn't just a feeling, it's intelligence from the throne room. The question isn't whether something is coming, the question is whether you'll trust what your spirit is telling you. Will you dismiss this supernatural sensitivity as nervousness? Will you medicate this divine urgency with distractions? Or will you honor what God is showing you and prepare accordingly? Because here's what I need you to understand. The shaking that's coming won't just rearrange furniture. It's going to reveal foundations. And when the dust settles, only those who built their lives on the solid rock of divine truth will still be standing. That restlessness you feel, it's God's way of saying, don't get too comfortable where you are. I'm about to move you to higher ground. That urgency in your chest, it's heaven's alarm clock, waking you up before the storm hits. That sudden need to get closer to me, it's preparation for a season where my voice will be the only voice that matters. So the question becomes, what are you going to do with this prophetic intelligence? You know what's terrifying about earthquakes? It's not the moment everything falls apart. It's the silence right before. That eerie calm when the birds stop singing, when the dogs start howling, when something deep in your gut screams, run, but your mind can't figure out why. That's where you are right now, chosen one. You're living in the pre-quake silence, and your spirit has been trying to warn you for months. Let me ask you something that's going to shake you to your core. Why have you been so exhausted lately when you haven't been doing anything different? Why does your body feel like you've been carrying concrete blocks when all you did was walk to the mailbox? Why are you waking up more tired than when you went to bed? You thought it was age. You thought it was stress. You blamed your medication, your diet, the weather. But what if I told you that sudden, unexplained exhaustion is often the first sign that heaven is preparing to move mountains in your life? Listen to what Isaiah 40:31 says, "But those who wait on the Lord shall renew their strength. They shall mount up with wings like eagles." Notice it says, those who wait. God drains your human strength, so you'll finally lean on His supernatural power. Your exhaustion isn't a curse, it's a calling card from the Almighty, saying, stop trying to do this in your own strength. But that's just the beginning. Look around your life right now. How many relationships have suddenly gone cold? How many people who used to call every week have mysteriously disappeared from your phone? How many family gatherings feel different, strained, like everyone's speaking a language you don't understand anymore? You've been blaming yourself, haven't you? Maybe I said something wrong. Maybe I'm getting too old to relate to people. Maybe they're just busy. Stop right there. What if those relationships aren't falling apart? What if they're being filtered? What if God is removing people from your circle who would panic when His power starts flowing through your life? What if He's protecting you from voices that would talk you out of your miracle? Proverbs 27:6 says, "Faithful are the wounds of a friend, but the kisses of an enemy are deceitful." Sometimes God wounds us by removing relationships that were actually killing our destiny. He's not taking away your friends. He's exposing who your real friends were all along. Here's what's really going to mess with your mind. Those strange delays you've been experiencing, those appointments that got cancelled, those plans that fell through, those opportunities that seemed perfect but suddenly vanished. You thought it was bad luck. You thought it was the devil blocking your path. But what if it was God redirecting your steps away from places that would have buried you when the earthquake hits? What if every cancelled plan was actually a divine rescue mission? What if every no you received was God's way of saying, not there, not yet, not with them? Psalm 37:23 declares, "The steps of a good man are ordered by the Lord, and He delights in His way." Notice it doesn't say the steps of a perfect man, or a young man, or a man who has it all figured out. It says, a good man. And if you're listening to this message, seeking God's voice in the noise of this world, you qualify. God has been rearranging your life like a master chess player, moving pieces you didn't even know were on the board. Every delay, every disappointment, every door that slammed shut, it was all strategic positioning for what's coming next. But here's where it gets really intense. Have you noticed how quickly things have been ending lately? Jobs that seemed secure, suddenly terminated. Health scares that came out of nowhere. Financial situations that shifted overnight. Friendships that ended with one conversation. Projects you'd invested years in that collapsed in a week. The speed of these endings has left you dizzy, hasn't it? You barely have time to process one loss before another one hits. You feel like you're in some kind of cosmic blender, and everything familiar is being torn away faster than you can grab onto it. But listen carefully. Rapid endings always precede radical beginnings. When God is ready to birth something new in your life, He has to create space for it. And sometimes He doesn't ask permission. Sometimes He just starts clearing the lot, bulldozing everything that's not built on His foundation. You thought it was bad luck, but it was God realigning the foundation beneath you. Think about Noah for a moment. God didn't gradually flood the earth over several years. When it was time, the fountains of the great deep broke open, and the windows of heaven opened all at once. Genesis 7:11 tells us it happened in a single day. In the 600th year of Noah's life, in the second month, the 17th day of the month, on that day all the fountains of the great deep were broken up, and the windows of heaven were opened. One day. Everything changed in one day. That's how God operates when He's ready to move. He doesn't send you a memo asking if it's convenient. He doesn't give you a 5-year plan. He shakes everything that can be shaken so that what cannot be shaken will remain. Here's the metaphor that's going to change how you see everything happening in your life. God is letting everything loose that wasn't nailed to Him. He's clearing your space before the earthquake does. Imagine you're about to renovate your house, but instead of carefully removing each piece of furniture, each picture frame, each knick-knack, you just shake the whole building. Everything that's not bolted down falls to the floor, and you can immediately see what's structurally sound and what was just decoration. That's what's happening in your life right now. God is shaking your world so gently at first that only the loosest things fall away. The surface-level friendships, the job that was never really your calling, the routines that were comfortable but not anointed. But chosen one, listen to me very carefully, because this is where most people miss it. The shaking you're experiencing right now is nothing compared to what's coming. This has been the preliminary tremor. This has been God's way of giving you a chance to voluntarily release what you need to let go of before He has to take it by force. But if you're still clinging to things that don't belong in your next season, if you're still trying to hold on to relationships that God is trying to dissolve, if you're still fighting to keep doors open that heaven is trying to close, then you're about to experience some major turbulence. Because when the real earthquake hits, when God releases the fullness of what He's prepared for your life, anything not aligned with His will is going to be violently shaken loose. And I don't want you to be caught holding on to the wrong things when that happens. Here's the truth that's going to set you free and terrify you at the same time. The shaking isn't coming to destroy you, it's coming to reveal who's real. It's coming to reveal which relationships can survive the storm and which ones were just fair-weather friendships. It's coming to reveal which parts of your character are solid rock and which parts are still sand. It's coming to reveal which dreams came from heaven and which ones you manufactured to fill the void. When David was anointed king, he didn't immediately get the crown. First came years of running from Saul, hiding in caves, wondering if God had forgotten His promise. But every cave, every battle, every betrayal was revealing who David really was beneath the shepherd boy exterior. The pressure wasn't destroying him, it was revealing the king that was always inside him. So what kind of earthquake is heading your way, and how do you position yourself to not just survive it, but to emerge from the rubble as the person God always intended you to be? You know what's breaking my heart right now? I'm watching God's most precious saints, His seasoned warriors, His tested champions, standing exposed in the middle of a spiritual battlefield, wondering why they feel so vulnerable. Listen to me, beloved, that exhaustion you've been carrying, that overwhelming urge to step back from the noise, the drama, the endless demands of people who drain your soul. You think that's weakness, don't you? Let me tell you something that's going to shatter every lie the enemy has whispered in your ear. You're not withdrawing in weakness. You're being hidden in wisdom. God doesn't just randomly pull His people into solitude. He doesn't accidentally create seasons of isolation. When the Almighty starts drawing you away from the crowd, away from the chaos, away from the familiar, He's not punishing you. He's protecting you. Here's what most believers never understand. God hides what He plans to heal. He shields what He plans to show off later. Think about Noah. For 120 years, this man was building an ark while his neighbors mocked him. Can you imagine the isolation, the ridicule, But when the rain started falling, when the fountains of the great deep burst forth, that ark wasn't a prison, it was salvation. God hid Noah before he showed off his power. Or consider Elijah. After calling down fire from heaven, after defeating 450 prophets of Baal, this mighty man of God found himself running to a cave. Was that defeat? Was that cowardice? Absolutely not. 1 Kings 19:9 says, "And there he went into a cave, and spent the night in that place." God met him there, in the hiding place, in the quiet place, in the place where nobody else could reach him. That's where God whispered his next assignment. And what about Jesus himself? Luke 5:16 tells us, "And he withdrew himself into the wilderness and prayed." The Son of God, with all power in his hands, regularly disappeared from the crowds. He left the applause. He stepped away from the desperate needs. He chose solitude over popularity. If Jesus needed to hide, what makes you think you don't? But here's where it gets personal for you, my dear friend. You've been feeling guilty about that desire to withdraw, haven't you? You've been beating yourself up for not wanting to answer every phone call, attend every gathering, fix every problem that lands on your doorstep. Stop it, right now. That desire for solitude isn't spiritual laziness. That need for quiet isn't selfishness. That pull toward stillness isn't depression, it's divine direction. You see, after decades of pouring yourself out, after years of being the strong one, the reliable one, the one everyone calls when their world falls apart, God is saying, enough. Come away with me. Let me refill what the world has emptied. But most of you are fighting it, aren't you? You're pushing through the exhaustion. You're forcing yourself to stay busy. You're drowning out the divine whisper with the noise of obligation. And you know what? You're setting yourself up to be hit by what's coming instead of hidden from it. Here's the truth that's going to set you free. When God starts pulling you into hiding, it's not because he's disappointed in you. It's because he's preparing you for something so significant that you'll need every ounce of spiritual strength you can gather. The earthquake that's coming, and it is coming, will shake everything that can be shaken. Hebrews 12:27 promises. This phrase, "yet once more," indicates the removal of those things that are being shaken, as of things that are made, that the things which cannot be shaken may remain. Everything built on human effort will crumble. Every relationship based on performance will fracture. Every identity rooted in what you do instead of who you are will collapse. But you hidden in the secret place of the Most High, you'll remain standing. I know some of you are thinking, but I have responsibilities. People need me. I can't just disappear. Listen carefully. God isn't calling you to abandon your duties. He's calling you to reorder your priorities. He's teaching you the difference between divine assignment and human assumption. You've been carrying burdens that were never yours to bear. You've been solving problems that God never asked you to solve. You've been available to everyone except the one who matters most. And now he's drawing you away because he loves you too much to let you burn out before your breakthrough. Think about it. Every time God was about to do something extraordinary in Scripture, he first called his people apart. Moses on the mountain for 40 days, David in the wilderness caves, Paul in the Arabian desert for 3 years. The pattern is unmistakable. Before public victory comes private preparation. Your season of hiding isn't a pause in your purpose, it's preparation for your promotion. But here's what's going to happen if you refuse to heed this divine invitation. If you keep pushing, keep performing, keep pretending you don't need rest, you're going to be standing in the wrong place when the shaking begins. And trust me, beloved, you don't want to be caught exposed when God starts moving the mountains. The people who mock your withdrawal now will be the same ones begging for your wisdom later. The voices that criticize your solitude today will be desperately seeking your stability tomorrow. Because while they're being shaken by the storm, you'll be sheltered in the secret place. So let me ask you directly, are you going to trust your feelings, or are you going to trust your Father? Are you going to listen to the world's demands, or God's direction? Are you going to be hidden and healed, or exposed and hit? The choice is yours, but the time to choose is now. Because ready or not, the earthquake is coming. And the only question that matters is this: when the ground starts shaking beneath everyone else's feet, will you be standing on the rock, or will you be scattered with the rubble? You know what terrifies me most about what's coming? It's not the shaking itself, it's how ordinary it's going to look when it begins. Picture this. You wake up on a Tuesday morning. The sun rises like it always does. Coffee tastes the same. The news anchor smiles with that practiced grin. Your neighbor walks their dog at 7:15 a.m., just like clockwork. Everything appears normal, predictable, safe. But spiritually, it's a setup. See, the enemy's greatest weapon isn't chaos, it's camouflage. He hides his most devastating attacks behind the mask of normalcy. While you're checking your email and planning dinner, invisible forces are aligning for a collision that will leave most people wondering what hit them. This is exactly how it happened in Noah's day. Genesis 7:11 tells us, "In the 600th year of Noah's life, in the 2nd month, the 17th day of the month, the same day were all the fountains of the great deep broken up." Notice that phrase, the same day. It was just another Tuesday for everyone else, just another ordinary morning, until it wasn't. The people were eating, drinking, marrying, giving in marriage. Business as usual. Contracts were being signed. Babies were being born. Elderly folks were sitting on their porches, watching the world go by. Then the first drops fell. Then the thunder rolled. Then the sky split open like a scroll being torn in half. But here's what sends chills down my spine. By the time they realized what was happening, it was too late to prepare. The door of the ark was already sealed. The invitation had expired. The grace period had ended. Are you starting to feel that knot in your stomach? Good. That's your spirit recognizing truth. Let me paint you a picture of what this day will look like in 2024. You'll wake up, and something will feel off. Not wrong exactly, but off. Like when you walk into a room and sense someone was just talking about you, but you can't prove it. That feeling will hang in the air like humidity before a thunderstorm. Deals will go wrong. That business transaction you've been counting on for months? It'll fall through at the last minute for reasons that make no sense. That relationship you thought was solid. One conversation will reveal cracks you never saw coming. That investment you thought was secure. The market will shift in ways that defy all logic. People will start acting strange. Your normally calm neighbor will snap over something trivial. Your patient pastor will seem on edge during Sunday service. Your composed daughter will call you crying about things she can't even explain. Emotions will spiral like leaves in a tornado, and nobody will understand why. But you'll know why. Because you're being warned right now. Ezekiel 7:7 says, "The morning is come unto thee, O thou that dwellest in the land. The time is come, the day of trouble is near." The Hebrew word for morning here doesn't just mean dawn, it means the appointed time. God has an appointment with this generation, and most people are going to miss it because they're not watching the signs. You want to know something that's going to shake you to your core? That job you lost 6 months ago that left you feeling rejected and forgotten, that wasn't rejection, that was rescue. That person who walked out of your life and broke your heart, that wasn't abandonment. That was angelic intervention. That location you had to leave, that dream that died, that door that slammed shut in your face, you weren't being punished. You were being positioned. God has been strategically removing you from ground zero. While you thought you were experiencing loss, heaven was orchestrating your preservation. While you felt forgotten, you were being remembered. While you believed you were being rejected, you were actually being selected for survival. Think about Lot in Sodom. The angels didn't just warn him, they physically grabbed him and his family and dragged them out of the city. Genesis 19:16 says, "While he lingered, the men laid hold upon his hand, and upon the hand of his wife, and upon the hand of his 2 daughters, the Lord being merciful unto him. And they brought him forth, and set him without the city." Lot was lingering. He was hesitating. He was looking back at his old life, his old comforts, his old normal. But God's mercy wouldn't let him stay. Sometimes what feels like God pushing you away from something is actually God pulling you towards safety. How many times has God's mercy looked like rejection in your life? I'm telling you right now, every closed door, every severed relationship, every financial setback, every health scare that forced you to slow down, God has been moving you like chess pieces on a board, positioning you for protection while positioning others for judgment. The day it hits, you'll be watching from a safe distance while others are caught in the chaos. You'll see news reports of systems collapsing, institutions crumbling, and people panicking, and you'll remember this moment. You'll remember when God's servant stood before you and told you to hide yourself now. But here's what's going to happen to those who ignored the warning. They'll wake up that morning with the same routine, but nothing will work the way it's supposed to. Their phones will ring with bad news. Their emails will be filled with cancellations. Their bodies will feel heavy with an anxiety they can't name. Their minds will race with thoughts they can't control. They'll feel like they're losing their minds, but actually, they're losing their covering. Psalm 91:1 promises, "He that dwelleth in the secret place of the Most High shall abide under the shadow of the Almighty." But what happens to those who refuse to dwell in the secret place? What happens to those who reject the shadow? They get exposed to the full force of what's coming. I need you to understand something that most preachers won't tell you. God's protection isn't automatic. It's conditional. It requires obedience. It demands positioning. It insists on humility. You can't live in rebellion and expect to be covered. You can't ignore his warnings and expect to be shielded. The day of shaking will separate the hidden from the exposed, the prepared from the presumptuous, the obedient from the obstinate. It will reveal who's been listening to God and who's been listening to their own understanding. And here's the most sobering truth of all. Once the shaking starts, it's too late to find shelter. You can't build an ark while the rain is falling. You can't dig a well when you're dying of thirst. You can't plant seeds in the middle of winter and expect a harvest. Preparation has its season, and that season is now, today, this moment. I can see some of you right now, feeling that stirring in your spirit, that confirmation in your heart. You know this word is for you. You know God has been preparing you, positioning you, pulling you away from certain situations and certain people. You know you've been feeling that unexplained urgency to get your house in order. That's not paranoia. That's prophecy working in your life. But I can also see others of you resisting this word, dismissing it as fear-mongering or religious extremism. You're thinking, this preacher is just trying to scare people. God is love. He wouldn't allow such shaking. And you're right, God is love. But love doesn't mean the absence of judgment. Love means warning before judgment comes. The question that should be burning in your heart right now isn't whether this shaking is coming, it's whether you'll be hidden when it arrives. Because make no mistake, beloved, the earth is about to convulse, and only those who've learned to hide in God will remain standing when the dust settles. So tell me, when the normal day turns into the nightmare, where will you be? Now listen to me, chosen one. We've talked about the earthquake coming. We've talked about God hiding you for protection. But there's something we haven't addressed yet, and it's the most dangerous thing of all. You can have the strongest foundation in the world, but if your house is full of clutter, the quake will destroy you from the inside out. You can't survive a spiritual earthquake in a soul built on emotional debris. You gotta clean your spirit, beloved. And I'm not talking about surface cleaning. I'm talking about the deep places, the hidden corners, the basement of your heart, where you've been storing things that should have been thrown out decades ago. Here's the hard truth nobody wants to hear. God isn't just shaking the earth around you, He's shaking your soul, so that what doesn't belong can finally break loose. And some of you have been holding on to poison for so long, you think it's medicine. Let me ask you something that's going to cut deep. When was the last time you cleaned house in your heart? I'm not talking about your kitchen cabinets or your garage. I'm talking about the storage room of your spirit, where you've been hoarding hurt, stacking up resentments, and collecting grievances like they're going to be worth something someday. Unforgiveness. Say it with me. Unforgiveness. It's sitting in your chest right now like a tumor, and you know exactly who put it there. That person who hurt you 20 years ago, 30 years ago, maybe even 50 years ago, they're probably dead and buried, but you're still carrying their offense like a backpack full of rocks. You think you're protecting yourself by holding on to that anger, but you're not. You're giving them free rent in your head. You're letting them poison your prayers. Every time you try to get close to God, there's that familiar taste of bitterness in your mouth, and you wonder why your breakthrough feels so far away. The enemy doesn't need to attack you when you're attacking yourself with memories that should have been buried long ago. What are you protecting by staying angry? What are you gaining by rehearsing the same old hurts every night before you fall asleep? David cried out in Psalm 51, "Create in me a clean heart, O God, and renew a right spirit within me." He didn't say, "Fix my circumstances," or "change other people." He said, "Clean my heart, renew my spirit." Because he understood something that most of us miss. The earthquake starts from within. And then there's the secret grief. Oh, you thought nobody knew about that, didn't you? That loss you never talk about. That dream that died. That child you lost. That marriage that ended. That career that crumbled. That version of yourself you used to be before life broke you into pieces. You've been carrying that grief like a secret, thinking if you don't talk about it, it doesn't hurt. But grief that's not grieved becomes poison. It seeps into everything. It colors every conversation, every relationship, every prayer. You can't heal what you won't acknowledge, and you can't release what you won't confess. I need you to understand something. God isn't afraid of your tears. He's not intimidated by your anger about what happened to you. He's not shocked by your disappointment in how your life turned out. But he can't heal what you keep hidden. Some of you are mad at God, and you think that's blasphemy, so you've been pretending everything is fine. But your relationship with him is dying a slow death because you won't tell him the truth about how you really feel. When are you going to stop lying to the one who knows everything anyway? And the deepest cut of all bitterness toward your own family, your children who don't call, your grandchildren who barely know you, your spouse who stopped seeing you years before they stopped looking at you, the family gatherings where you feel like a stranger in your own bloodline. You sit in church and smile, but inside you're screaming, "I gave them everything. I sacrificed my dreams, my body, my youth, my energy, and for what? So they could ignore me? So they could take me for granted? So they could visit me out of obligation twice a year?" Let me tell you something that's going to shake you to your core. Your children aren't your reward for a life well lived. They're not your proof that you mattered. They're not your insurance policy against loneliness. They're individuals on their own journey with God, and sometimes that journey leads them away from you for reasons that have nothing to do with your worth. But here's what bitterness does: it builds walls around your heart so high that even when they do try to reach you, you can't receive it because you're too busy keeping score of all the times they didn't. The question that's going to haunt you: are you going to die holding on to the list of everyone who disappointed you, or are you going to live holding on to the hand of the one who never will? Psalm 51:10 says, "Create in me a clean heart, O God." Not clean everyone else's heart. Create in me a clean heart. You can't control their choices, but you can clean your response. You can't change their behavior, but you can change your bitterness. This is your spiritual surgery, beloved. God is asking you to go into the basement of your heart with a flashlight and start throwing things away. That resentment from 1987, trash. That offense from last Christmas, gone. That grudge you've been nursing like a pet, it's time to put it down. Because here's what I know about earthquakes. They don't just shake what's above ground, they shake what's underneath. And if your foundation is built on unforgiveness, secret grief, and family bitterness, the quake won't just move you, it'll bury you. But if you clean house now, if you do the hard work of excavating your heart before the shaking starts, you won't just survive the earthquake. You'll use it as a launching pad into the destiny God has been trying to get you to for decades. So I'm asking you right now, what are you going to choose? Are you going to keep building monuments to your pain, or are you going to start building altars to your praise? Because the earthquake is coming whether your house is clean or not. The only question is, Will you be buried under the debris of your past, or will you be standing on the solid ground of forgiveness when the dust settles? You know what breaks my heart? You've been calling this shaking destruction when heaven has been calling it divine revelation. You've been fearing the very thing God designed to set you free. Listen to me, chosen one. Earthquakes expose foundations. And when the dust settles, only truth stands. For too long, you've been buried under layers of other people's expectations, society's definitions of success, and your own self-doubt. But God never intended for you to live covered up. He never meant for your light to be hidden under the bushel of someone else's comfort zone. The shaking you've been feeling, it's not coming to bury you deeper, it's coming to unearth who you really are. Think about the earthquake that split the temple veil when Jesus died. Matthew 27-51 says, "And behold, the curtain of the temple was torn in two from top to bottom, and the earth shook, and the rocks were split." That wasn't destruction, that was God revealing direct access to His presence. That earthquake didn't hide the Holy of Holies, it exposed it for everyone to see. What if I told you that every tremor in your life has been God tearing away the veils that have kept the real you hidden? You've been wondering why everything feels so unstable lately, why relationships are shifting, why old patterns aren't working anymore, why doors you used to walk through easily are now slamming shut. You thought something was wrong with you. But what if nothing is wrong with you? What if everything is finally going right? God has been strategically removing everything that was masking your true identity. Every fake friend who walked away, God peeled off a layer. Every job that didn't work out, God removed a costume. Every plan that fell through, God cleared the stage. He's been preparing you for your reveal. Isaiah 60:1 declares, "Arise, shine, for your light has come, and the glory of the Lord has risen upon you." But here's what most people miss. You can't arise and shine while you're still covered in other people's dust. You can't reflect God's glory while you're wearing masks of mediocrity. The earthquake isn't coming to knock you down. It's coming to shake off everything that's been weighing you down. Do you realize what's about to happen when this divine revelation fully manifests in your life? The city that ignored you will suddenly need your wisdom. The same people who walked past you on the street will find themselves drawn to your presence. The family members who dismissed your insights will be calling you for advice. The neighbors who barely nodded hello will be knocking on your door, sensing something different about the atmosphere around your home. You see, when God reveals who you really are, it doesn't just change how you see yourself, it changes how the world sees you. Remember Daniel? For years, he was just another exile in Babylon. But when crisis hit and the king needed wisdom, suddenly Daniel wasn't just another captive, he became the most sought-after advisor in the kingdom. The earthquake of national crisis revealed Daniel's true value. The same people who mocked your hiding will crave your stability. While everyone else is running around in panic, you'll be walking in peace. While others are losing their minds, you'll be speaking with divine clarity. While the world is shaking, you'll be standing firm because you've already been through your personal earthquake in the secret place with God. They laughed when you pulled away from their chaos. They questioned your need for solitude. They called you antisocial when you chose prayer over parties. But when their world starts crumbling, guess whose door they'll be knocking on? The one who learned how to be still in the storm. The one who discovered how to hear God's voice above the noise. The one who built their house on the rock while others were building on sand. This earthquake isn't just revealing you to yourself, it's revealing you to your generation. Esther 4:14 reminds us, "And who knows whether you have not come to the kingdom for such a time as this?" Your hiding season was never about staying hidden forever. It was about being prepared for such a time as this. The wisdom you gained in the wilderness, the strength you developed in the waiting room, the faith you forged in the furnace, it wasn't just for you, it was for the people you're about to serve. The quake is breaking open your platform. Every prophet started in obscurity before they stepped into influence. Moses was hidden in the palace, then hidden in the desert, before God revealed him as the deliverer. David was hidden in the fields, then hidden in caves, before God revealed him as king. Your platform isn't something you build, It's something God breaks open when the timing is divine. But here's what you need to understand. This revelation isn't going to happen gradually. When God decides to reveal you, it happens suddenly. One day you're invisible, the next day you're undeniable. Are you ready for that level of visibility? Are you prepared for that kind of responsibility? Because when this earthquake hits and the dust settles, you won't be able to hide anymore. Your light will be too bright. Your presence will be too powerful. Your voice will be too necessary. The world is about to see what heaven has always seen in you. Psalm 139:14 declares, "I praise you, for I am fearfully and wonderfully made." But the enemy has spent years convincing you that you're fearfully and wonderfully broken instead. The shaking is about to shatter that lie forever. This isn't destruction, beloved. This is divine revelation. This is your unveiling. This is your moment. And when the revelation is complete, when the dust settles and the truth stands tall, you won't just survive the earthquake, you'll become the solid ground others stand on. But here's the question that will determine everything. When God starts revealing who you really are to the world, will you have the courage to step into it? You know what breaks my heart? Watching God's generals apologize for taking cover when heaven itself commanded the retreat. You think you're being weak, don't you? You think stepping back makes you a coward. You think isolation means you've failed. Let me shatter that lie right now. David was hidden in the field before the throne. 30 years of sheep, slings and silence before one day with a giant made him king. Joseph was hidden in prison before the palace. 13 years of betrayal, slavery, and stone walls before Pharaoh's ring touched his finger. Moses was hidden in the wilderness before he split the Red Sea. 40 years of desert dust before the Exodus miracle. Your hiding isn't punishment, it's preparation. Your isolation isn't rejection, it's selection. But here's what the enemy doesn't want you to understand. While you're beating yourself up for withdrawing, heaven is celebrating your obedience. While you're feeling guilty for saying no to people, God is saying yes to your future. While you think you're losing ground, you're actually gaining altitude. Do you hear me, chosen one? Your strategic withdrawal is warfare. The devil has convinced you that hiding is running away. But biblical hiding is different. It's not escape, it's equipment. It's not retreat, it's reloading. When David hid in the cave of Adullam, he wasn't cowering, he was collecting an army. When Elijah hid by the brook Cherith, ravens fed him. When Jesus withdrew to lonely places, power flowed out of him to heal multitudes. Your cave is your classroom. Your desert is your doctorate. Stop apologizing for the seasons God authored. Stop explaining to people why you can't show up to everything anymore. Stop justifying the boundaries heaven helped you build. You don't owe anyone access to a vessel God is still preparing. They don't understand because they weren't called to your assignment. Right now, while you're hidden, God is doing surgery on your soul. He's removing the need for applause. He's extracting the addiction to being needed. He's cutting away the fear of man that made you say yes when heaven was saying no. This isn't therapy, it's transformation at the cellular level. You can't lead effectively until you've been healed completely. David's sheep taught him to protect what couldn't protect itself. Joseph's prison taught him to serve without recognition. Moses' wilderness taught him that God's presence matters more than public approval. What is your hiding place teaching you? What is your isolation installing in you? Here's the truth they won't tell you in church. Every great leader was first a great hider. Abraham hid in a foreign land before he became the father of nations. Jacob hid with his uncle before he wrestled with angels. Ruth hid in foreign fields before she entered the royal lineage. Esther hid her identity before she saved her people. Your concealment is connected to your calling. But listen to me carefully, this hiding isn't passive. You're not hibernating, you're not checked out. You're strategically positioned. While others are performing, you're being perfected. While they're networking, you're being knitted together by God's hands. While they're building platforms, you're building character. The foundation determines the height of the building. God is taking you deeper so He can take you higher. He's making you stronger in secret so you can serve with power in public. He's developing your discernment in the dark so you won't be deceived in the daylight. Every minute of your hiding is an hour of their leadership education. You see, most people want the throne without the preparation. They want the crown without the character development. They want to lead without learning how to follow. But God loves you too much to give you influence before integrity, platform before purpose, position before preparation. Your character is your only true qualification. The Israelites wandered 40 years, not because God was lost, but because they weren't ready. The wandering wasn't wasted time, it was preparation time. It wasn't punishment, it was purification. Every step in the wilderness was a step toward the promise. Your delay isn't denial, it's development. Right now, God is downloading divine strategies into your spirit. He's giving you blueprints for problems that don't exist yet. He's installing solutions for situations you haven't encountered. He's preparing you for people you haven't met and places you haven't seen. Your hiddenness is your advantage. While others are visible and vulnerable, you're invisible and invincible. While they're fighting battles in the open, you're winning wars in the spirit. While they're building with human hands, God is building you with His own fingers. The world needs what you're becoming, not what you were. Joseph didn't just survive prison, he governed from it. David didn't just endure the wilderness, he worshipped in it. Jesus didn't just tolerate the cross, he triumphed through it. Your place of pain is becoming your place of power. Every test is a testament waiting to be written. But here's the urgency, chosen one. This season of hiding won't last forever. There's a moment coming when God will call you out of concealment and into commission. There's a day approaching when your preparation period will end and your demonstration period will begin. The question is, will you be ready when He calls? Hide now, heal now, hear now so you can lead later. Let God finish what He started in you. Let Him complete the work He began when He first called your name. Let Him seal what He's been building in the secret place. Your emergence is tied to your emergency. The world is about to need exactly what God is developing in you right now. The crisis that's coming requires the character He's building. The chaos that's approaching demands the courage He's installing. The confusion that's spreading calls for the clarity He's giving you. You're not being hidden from your destiny, you're being prepared for it. So stop fighting the process. Stop rushing the timeline. Stop demanding to be seen before you're seasoned. Trust the rhythm of heaven. Trust the wisdom of your withdrawal. Trust the purpose of your pause. Because when this earthquake hits, they're going to need someone who remained unshaken. The ground has stopped shaking, but now it's quiet. Too quiet. And silence is loud when you don't know who you are anymore. You know that feeling, don't you? When the chaos finally ends, but the peace feels more terrifying than the storm itself. You've been praying for calm, begging God to stop the shaking in your life. And now that He has, you're standing in the wreckage wondering if you should have been more careful what you asked for. The noise is gone, but so is the old you. Look around your life right now. Really look. The relationships that used to define you, gone. The job that gave you identity, stripped away. The routines that made you feel secure, shattered like glass on concrete. You thought you wanted peace, but nobody warned you that peace would come with such a high price tag. What do you do when the storm is over, but the pieces don't fit anymore? This is where most people panic. This is where they start frantically trying to glue back together a life that God deliberately allowed to break apart. They call old friends who no longer answer. They apply for jobs that feel like wearing clothes 3 sizes too small. They try to squeeze back into a version of themselves that died in the earthquake. But chosen one, what if I told you that your confusion right now is actually confirmation? What if the fact that nothing fits anymore is proof that you've outgrown your old container? You survived the quake, but you don't recognize your reflection. And that's exactly what God intended. Listen to me carefully. In 1 Kings 19, Elijah had just called down fire from heaven and defeated 450 prophets of Baal. You'd think he'd be on top of the world, right? But the very next chapter, he's running for his life, hiding in a cave, telling God he wants to die. The victory was over, But Elijah didn't know who he was in the silence that followed. Sound familiar? God didn't rebuke Elijah for his confusion. He didn't tell him to get over it or figure it out faster. Instead, God asked him one simple question. What are you doing here, Elijah? Not where are you going, not what's your 5-year plan. Just, what are you doing here? In this moment, in this cave, in this aftermath. That's the same question. Heaven is whispering over your life right now, not demanding answers you don't have, but simply asking you to be present in the mystery, to stop running from the unfamiliarity and start leaning into it. Because here's what they don't tell you about surviving God's earthquakes. The person who walks out of the rubble is never the same person who walked in. You're sitting there thinking something's wrong with you because you can't get excited about the things that used to thrill you. You can't force yourself to care about conversations that feel shallow. You can't pretend to be impressed by success that feels empty. And you're wondering if maybe you're broken, if maybe you've lost your joy, if maybe the earthquake damaged something essential inside you. Let me shock you with the truth. You haven't lost anything essential. You've gained discernment. The earthquake didn't break your joy. It broke your tolerance for counterfeits. You haven't lost your passion. You've lost your willingness to waste it on things that don't matter. The shaking didn't damage your heart. It refined your vision. Psalm 46:10 says, "Be still and know that I am God." But the Hebrew word for be still is rapha, which literally means to let go, to release, to stop striving. It's not passive waiting. It's active surrender. It's saying, God, I don't know who I am anymore, but I trust you to show me. That's where you are right now. In the rapha, in the release, in the holy confusion between who you were and who you're becoming. And I know it's uncomfortable. I know you want clarity. I know you want a roadmap and a timeline and a guarantee that this emptiness will fill up soon. But what if God is asking you to get comfortable with not knowing? What if the not knowing is the beginning of really knowing? Think about this. A caterpillar doesn't become a butterfly by adding wings to what it already is. It has to completely dissolve, become liquid, lose every recognizable part of its former self before it can emerge as something entirely new. Scientists call it imaginal discs, the cells that hold the blueprint for what's coming next, but they only activate during the complete breakdown of what came before. You are in your imaginal disc phase right now. Everything familiar has dissolved, but the blueprint for your next season is already encoded in your spiritual DNA. You just can't see it yet, because transformation happens in the dark, in the unknown, in the space between death and resurrection. Job understood this. After losing everything, his children, his wealth, his health, his reputation, he sat in ashes and declared, "Though he slay me, yet will I trust him." Job 13:15. He didn't say it because he felt like trusting. He said it because he knew that his confusion wasn't his conclusion. Your confusion isn't your conclusion either. The enemy wants you to believe that this empty feeling is permanent, that you'll never figure out your purpose again, that maybe God forgot about you in the aftermath. But let me tell you something that will shake you. The very fact that you feel lost proves you were never meant to stay where you were. Only people with a destiny feel displacement when they're not living it. Only people called to something greater feel restless in something smaller. Your dissatisfaction isn't a sign that you're ungrateful. It's a sign that you're awakening. But here's what you need to understand about this season. God isn't going to hand you a new identity on a silver platter. He's going to teach you to find it in Him. For too long, you've been getting your sense of self from external sources. Your job title, your relationship status, your bank account, your health report, what your kids think of you, what your neighbors say about you. But all of that just got shaken loose, didn't it? And now you're forced to answer the question, who are you when you strip away everything that used to define you? This is the question that terrifies most people into building their old life back as quickly as possible. They'd rather live in a familiar prison than explore an unfamiliar freedom. But not you. You're still here, still listening, still seeking, because something deep inside you knows that this breakdown is actually a breakthrough. Romans 8:28 promises that all things work together for good for those who love God, and are called according to his purpose. But notice, it doesn't say all things feel good. It says they work together for good. Your earthquake? It worked for your goodbye, removing what was blocking your next level. Your confusion? It's working for your goodbye, forcing you to seek God's face instead of just his hand. Your emptiness? It's working for your good by creating space for something better to fill. Right now, you're in the valley of decision. You can either try to resurrect your old life or let God birth your new one. I'm going to ask you to do something that requires more courage than most people possess. Comment below, "I survived the shaking." Let heaven and hell both know that you made it. And now the rebuild begins. Because when you declare your survival, you're not just making a statement, you're making a commitment. You're saying you refuse to waste this gift of starting over. You're announcing that you're ready to discover who you really are beneath all the labels, roles, and expectations that used to define you. The dust has settled, the old you is buried in the rubble, and standing in the ashes is someone heaven has been waiting to meet for a very long time. The question isn't who you used to be. The question is, who is God calling you to become in the silence that follows the storm? The ground has stopped shaking. The noise has died down. But now you're standing in the aftermath, looking around at what's left of your life, and you're asking yourself the hardest question of all: where is God in this mess? Listen to me, chosen one. I need you to understand something that will change everything about how you see this moment. God doesn't just speak in the thunder of victory. He doesn't only show up in the lightning of breakthrough. Sometimes, and pay attention to this, he waits until the dust settles to whisper the words that will rebuild your entire world. You think he's silent because the storm is over? You think he's absent because the chaos has stopped? No, beloved, he's not gone, he's just changed his voice. Let me take you to a mountain cave in Israel. About 3,000 years ago, the prophet Elijah is running for his life. He's exhausted, broken, ready to die. Sound familiar? He hides in a cave, and God tells him to come out because he's about to pass by. First comes a mighty wind that tears the mountains apart and shatters rocks. But the Bible says God was not in the wind. Then comes an earthquake that makes the ground split open. But God was not in the earthquake. Then comes fire that consumes everything in its path. But God was not in the fire. And then silence. And in that silence, Elijah hears it, a gentle whisper, a still small voice. And that whisper contained more power than all the natural disasters combined. That whisper gave him the strength to anoint kings and outlive his enemies. Here's what you need to know right now. Your collapse was not the end, it was the clearing. God let everything loud get quiet so you could finally hear what he's been trying to tell you all along. You've been listening for the wrong voice, haven't you? You've been waiting for him to shout over your circumstances, to speak louder than your pain, to drown out the voices of doubt with overwhelming signs and wonders. But that's not how the deepest revelations come. He doesn't waste wreckage. He speaks through it. Remember when they brought the woman caught in adultery to Jesus? The religious leaders were screaming accusations, the crowd was yelling for justice, stones were ready to fly. Pure chaos. But what did Jesus do? He knelt down in the dirt, in the mess, in the rubble of her reputation, and he started writing in the dust. The Bible doesn't tell us what he wrote, but I'll tell you what happened in that silence. While he wrote, the accusers walked away one by one. The chaos died down. The noise stopped. And when it was just Jesus and the woman in the quiet aftermath, that's when he spoke the words that changed her life forever. Neither do I condemn you. Go and sin no more. Your breakthrough didn't come in the noise. It's coming in the stillness. But here's where most people miss it. They think silence means abandonment. They think quiet means God has left the building. No, dear one, silence means surgery. And you can't operate in chaos. You can't rebuild in the middle of an earthquake. You can't hear direction when everyone else is still screaming. So let me ask you something, and I want you to answer this honestly. What if your current silence isn't God ignoring you? What if it's God isolating you so he can speak without interference? Think about it. Every distraction that used to demand your attention, where is it now? Every voice that used to confuse your direction, how loud is it today? Every relationship that used to drain your energy, how much space is it taking up in your life right now? God has been clearing the frequency so you can receive the transmission. But you have to tune in. You have to stop looking for the earthquake and start listening for the whisper. You have to stop demanding He speak in your language and start learning His. Listen closer, look deeper, stand still. Because here's what's happening in the rubble of your life right now. God is not just cleaning up your mess, He's converting it into a message. He's not just fixing what broke, He's revealing what was always meant to be broken so something stronger could be built. Every relationship that fell apart, that was a renovation, not a demolition. Every door that slammed shut, that was redirection, not rejection. Every dream that died, that was preparation for resurrection. Listen closer, look deeper, stand still. You know what God told Jeremiah when everything in his nation was falling apart? Call to me and I will answer you and tell you great and unsearchable things you do not know. But notice the first word, call. Not scream, not demand, not bargain. Call, in the silence, in the stillness, in the space between what was and what will be. That space you're in right now, that uncomfortable, quiet, uncertain space, where you can't see the next step and you can't go back to the last one, that's not limbo. That's the laboratory where miracles are made. And I need you to hear this. He doesn't waste wreckage. He speaks through it. The broken pieces of your life aren't evidence of God's absence. They're the alphabet He's using to spell out your next chapter. The scattered fragments of your plans aren't proof that He doesn't care. They're the raw materials He's using to build something you never could have imagined. But you have to stay still long enough to hear the blueprint being whispered over your life. He's whispering, and the whisper is coming now. Father God, I stand in agreement with every person who has watched this message from beginning to end. I place my hand on their shoulder right now, and I speak your peace over their restless nights and your clarity over their confused days. Lord, they've been feeling the tremors, and some of them thought they were losing their footing. But you've shown us today that those tremors weren't signs of instability, they were signs of your movement. They weren't warnings of destruction, they were invitations to hide in you. I pray for every chosen one who has been wondering if they heard you correctly, if they're really called, if they're really set apart. Father, silence the voices of doubt and amplify the voice of your Spirit in their lives. Let them hear your whisper so clearly that they never question your direction again. For those who have been isolated, who have felt cut off from relationships and opportunities they thought they needed, God, reveal to them that you haven't been keeping good things from them. You've been keeping them for good things. I pray for supernatural strength for the days ahead. When the earthquake comes, let them stand firm. When others are shaken, let them be the ones who remain steady. When the dust settles, let them be the voices of wisdom that others run to for direction. Father, bless their finances. Open doors that have been locked. Restore relationships that have been severed. Heal bodies that have been weary. Renew minds that have been overwhelmed. And give them eyes to see that every delay was divine timing, every closed door was divine protection, and every season of waiting was divine preparation. I speak breakthrough over their breakthrough. I speak clarity over their calling. I speak peace over their path. And I declare that their hiding season is about to give birth to their harvest season. Cover them tonight, Lord. Give them rest that restores and dreams that reveal. And when they wake up tomorrow, let them wake up with unshakable confidence that you are working all things together for their good. In the name of Jesus, who whispers in the storm and speaks through the silence, amen. Dear ones, thank you for staying with me through this entire journey. Thank you for trusting me with your time and your heart. If this message has been a lifeline for you today, please hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. Because there are more words coming, more revelations being released, and you don't want to miss what God is speaking next. Remember, you are chosen, you are hidden, you are protected, and you are about to be revealed. The whisper is coming, and when it comes, you'll know exactly what to do next. Stay hidden, stay ready. Your time is almost here.